Hey guys, it's Shay and I'm here with my partner Eli. Welcome back to another episode of the Nani Network, the podcast where we give you the unbiased, unfiltered, but full of love opinion on anime 2 shows at a time.
You already know. From the underdog's journey to the darkest tale, let's see where your favorite anime lands on the Nani Network scale. It's lit. Today, I don't know, we're taking a godly approach. Mm-hmm. We're taking a godly approach to anime.
Here at the Nani Network, we love a theme.
We live for a fucking theme. And today, we're going to be talking about Blood of Zeus and...
God Eater.
Ooh.
So, 2 newer anime. If they're not, then my bad.
It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
But God of Zeus was actually on Netflix, like top 10.
Blood of Zeus.
Blood of Zeus was actually on Netflix, top 10 recommended anime for a little while. So let's see.
What is hitting for?
Did she live up to her reputation?
Because I love me some Greek mythology.
Same. So we're on some mythology buffs over here. So this piqued our interest, so that will be the first anime we jump into today. As usual, we're going to kick you guys off with the 3 things that you need to know. We've been watching a lot of shorter anime, so we are aware that...
I think it's just the 3 things you need to know now. I think that's just what anime is putting out. Because we're looking at the top lists and all these things, and all these animes are only like 12 episodes long.
13 episodes, yeah.
12 to 13 episodes.
Gone are the days of the 50, episode seasons.
And I blame you complainers, because there were some really good shows that are 50 episodes long.
Oh, people complained about that?
Because they say, oh, they put fillers, and they put this, and they put that. And it's like, guess what? Now you wait till a year for another 12 episodes. Jackass.
Right, because they're not releasing them like they shortened the anime, and they're not releasing them any faster.
Exactly. So you used to get 3 arcs out of 1 season, but that's neither here nor there.
So, onwards with the description. So, as we mentioned earlier, Blood of Zeus is a Netflix original anime series. And in the world's beginning, the gods of Olympus, led by Zeus, defeated the Titans. In the wake of their victory, the last Titans cursed the gods and unleashed the giants on the world. So now we're going to roll into the 3 things that you need to know about Blood of Zeus.
First thing you need to know is this is the telling of Zeus's son Heron. So when you know Greek mythology and it goes back, we all know that Zeus is known for being a flat-footed whore.
There was Brenda, Letitia, Linda, Felicia, Dawn, LaShawn, Inez, and Delisha.
Like he has so many fucking kids.
He had no decorum about himself.
It's disgusting, and he never cared. He's the king of the gods, and he let it get to his head in every way, shape, or form, as we consistently see throughout the mythos and depictions of him across, I don't know, dozens of shows that have come out over the decades.
No matter what show or movie or adaptation you watch based on the Greek mythology, there's like certain personality traits and characteristics that they'll keep for for the deities. So Zeus is known as being a flamboyant, raging adulterer, and Hera is known for her wrath. The only adaptation that doesn't depict this was Hercules, Disney's Hercules, where they had a happy family, and that was crazy.
And they just accepted Hercules in there. And if you know the real story of Hercules, it's like, yikes. But this one zeroes in on his son Heron, who actually is not in Greek mythology. They actually created this character, it looks like, for the Netflix series. But it seems so familiar because it follows all the tropes that follow along with one of Zeus's bastards. As you mentioned earlier, like Hercules, when Hera found out about him, she did send the snakes to kill him as an infant. Luckily, he was a demigod and he survived. And throughout that, as he tried to earn his way into Olympus, it was by Hera's order that he was sent to do all those trials that he had to do to become an Olympian. And throughout each trial, she was actively trying to kill him. Hera does not like these bastard fucking kids.
Wasn't Achilles another one of his demigod bastards?
Yes!
Another one.
Yes! Yes! She shot this nigga Achilles' heel out. Like, you can't walk. Come on. So Hera is not here for these kids. So it followed this common story of Hera finding out about one of Zeus's kids and busting wide open. Just setting it the fuck off.
So Heron's mom in this story is actually a ex-princess or queen by the name of Electra. So Electra was married to forget her husband's domain, but she was married to a king, and he was not a nice man. So Zeus, as Zeus does when he lays with mortal women, he came to her in the form of something else, right? Gods don't typically show their godliness to mortals. So he came to her as her husband, and she noted that her husband was like going through these mood changes. Like sometimes he'll come to her and he'll be like this raving dickhead, and then sometimes he's like the sweetest person.
He was a little menopausal.
Bring her roses and do all of that. So one day she confronts him when he's being his sweet self, and lo and behold, Zeus reveals himself to her. They continue their affair.
Raw dogging.
They continue their affair, and Zeus impregnates her because what the fuck is a condom?
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die.
Also, nigga, you're magical. Like, you could just not. Like, you don't have God contraceptives. I don't know, but
he's the king of the gods in every way, shape, or the form. Why you should be happy to take my seed?
So we don't have to deal with your crazy ass wife.
That's neither here nor there. My wife has some things going on right now. Yo, oh my God.
And he deserved it. So that's how Heron came to be. And during his arrival into the world, Electra's husband actually realized that the baby was not his. He didn't need Maury. So she was pregnant with twins, and one of the twins was Heron, who did not resemble him. I think he's like, because his eye color was blue or whatever, but I'm like, okay, he's obviously never heard of a recessive gene. So
nobody had during those times. What is he talking about?
He was ready to punt the baby out the window.
He said he has a different complexion and he has different color eyes.
He was a newborn. Babies don't have complexion.
He was a bastard on both sides of his family. Nobody. Oh, poor Heron. Yeah. He really was a bastard on both sides.
So, obviously, the king was not. His literal words were,
"You've made a cuckold of me."
I thought that was fucking hilarious. So, he was ready to off Electra and the babe. So Zeus came to their aid, took her away, and took her to a village. And to protect them from Hera, he cast clouds over the village so that Hera would not be able to see his side family.
Right. So that's the story of Heron's beginnings and how he came about to be and why he was able to grow to a full ass man without being murked by Hera.
Yeah, because she has many ways. So that leads us into the second thing that you need to know about Blood of Zeus, which is Hera's rage. So again, notorious for it. Many of Zeus's mistresses and his kids have befallen an ill fate because of Hera's. A lot of the texts call it jealousy, but I feel like she's wholly justified in being angry. Maybe don't take it out on the people who didn't. Well, I'm not gonna say they didn't know. You know that was a married man, but the kids are really innocents in this all. But Hera don't give a shit. She does not care. So thus begins Hera's elaborate plot to basically give Zeus.
Hera carried the story.
She wanted to get the ultimate revenge on Zeus. She wanted to dethrone him. She wanted to kill all his kids. Yes, we can say all his kids. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to take the power from him. Mm-hmm. So I believe that Hera was justified in feeling how she felt because in Zeus having
give them the story, Shay. That's your second time saying that you believe she's justified. Are you a defense attorney?
You know what? It's given very much of how you doing your honor, Miss Judge Lance Holler.
That's how you know she wasn't justified.
No, she wasn't justified because
Shay is pleading the case right now.
With Zeus having the side family, he spent a lot of time away from Olympus, and he actually, little to Heron's knowledge, was he disguised himself as this old man who would teach Heron things and who would be there for them when they were hungry, but he didn't reveal the true nature of who he was to Heron. The mother knew, but he didn't. So this caused him to spend a lot of time away from Olympus and shuck his duties.
All right, so Hera has a familiar that's a crow, which is essentially the way she found out. I don't know, one day the clouds lifted or she was able to get a crow under the veil. And she said, where has Zeus been? And so that's how she finds out about this. And Hera proceeds to enact this plan to basically it's basically airing Zeus out. It's what every scorned spouse, whether it be male or female, will do when they're wrong.
She held court.
She said, yo, okay, not only has he been cheating, which is against the law, he has been going to the mortal realm, which is against the law. Like,
showing himself. I think
revealing himself to mortals, which is against the law. Like, she just started airing him out to anybody who would listen. Yo, Olympians, is this your leader?
I think the most important thing was just like his negligence of his duties, because like this is not Zeus's first bastard. Some of them live up there. Like we all know Apollo and Hermes were very prominent figures up in Olympus. So he's been fucking goddesses too.
So like she rallies everyone basically against Zeus because
most everyone,
but she rallies at everyone she can against Zeus because as much of a tyrant as he is, when there's an opportunity to get back at him and potentially dethrone him, all the people that he's scorned in his past, it's more willing for them, or people who just in general have allegiance to Hera, like Ares, the god of war, who is a fucking mama's boy, always up her areas. Like, you know, and really leads this siege against Zeus.
Cool.
Which leads to this partnership between Hera and the demons and giants. Baby was working with everybody.
She was a businesswoman.
She put her business suit on, her pantsuit. She went on over.
She gathered the girls at the table and said, come here. I have a job for everyone.
She said, the queen speaking.
I heard they call for the queen.
So that kind of leads us into, that fully leads us into our third and final point, which is the war of the gods and brother versus brother. So as we mentioned earlier, Heron's mom, Electra, gave birth to twins. So we have Heron, who was Zeus's bastard. I feel like that's getting a little overdone.
Half son. Full son! Hera has infected us all.
And Seraphim, who was the son of her husband, King whatever. So Seraphim had a very, very bad childhood. Even by like anime standards. Like from the moment he left his mother's womb, he did not catch a break. So his dad was killed shortly after he was born, and his uncle assumed the throne. And his uncle, in a fit of jealousy, threw the babe from...
Well, not to ensure that he would never assume the throne.
Right.
Because since his father was a king, when he became of age, he would have the right to the throne. So to ensure that he would always have the throne and his bloodline would have it, he decided to get rid of that baby.
So he punted him from a cliffside, and he got injured. Like, obviously, he's a newborn baby. Like, he got really badly injured.
Left for dead.
It was supposed to kill him. Yeah, he was left for dead. And one of, I believe, the nursemaids found him and raised him as her own.
Yo, baby packed up everything that day and said, "This is my son."
That was loyalty. That was problems that she really didn't need to take upon herself. But she took care of the child, took him into the woods to keep him away from his uncle, who would obviously try to kill him again should he know that the baby survived. So Seraphim spent the majority of his life like scavenging and forced like
he was raised by wolves. Like he was raised with
he was raised by the woman, but
with amongst wolf cubs.
No, it was bear cubs.
Bear cubs?
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she was raised with animals.
Yeah, so he was like breastfeeding off of this bear that the gods
provided.
The gods provided, because obviously she wasn't his biological mother, so there's really no other way to feed the baby. So she took care of him up until he was like, I want to say like 8-9 years old. He was small when his uncle realized that he was still alive and sent his men after him and the mother to kill them. So he managed to get away with the help of the gods. And he's been told two different versions of this story. So Hera actually employed his help to help her in the war, because Seraphim later becomes a demon. So humans become demons when they eat the remains of the giants that the gods slaughtered. I don't know why they didn't move that shit, but it like they wash. Oh yeah, so they fell into the oceans floor, and they wash up on like beaches and stuff. So
while he was being like attacked, the Titan basically like called out to him basically like enticing him to eat the flesh.
Yes, it told him, like, he
it
heard
was like,
words.
if you eat me, like, you will gain power, blah, blah, blah. So he eats the flesh and becomes a full-fledged, half human, half demon fledgling with this trident and just a massive, massive power boost. As we say every episode, humans are always at the bottom of the fucking totem pole. So if you eat anything you find on the ground, it will level you up. But he leveled up and became a demon. And after eating that demon meat, I don't know, it sort of had like this influence on him. As we fucking know, I don't know, it's like eating, I don't know, something out of fucking Demon Slayer. And it had a negative influence on him, basically making him evil and changing his mission from avenging his adopted mother's death and killing all the sons of that family lineage to now like pursuit of the demon's goals. You know, he had like this like influence, as we later find out, the Bident that he was using. I said trident before, but it's apparently a Bident. It is that Bident he's using is actually property of Hades. So, you know, Hades is always up to some slick shit on the low, so that could have been influencing him as well. But something changed in him after eating that demon meat that led him on this journey.
You make it sound like jerky.
He like found a piece of demon jerky on the road.
Yes, so Seraphim is essentially trying to spread this, I don't want to call it this cult-esque thing that he's built up, and every time he encounters someone, he tries to force feed them or allure them into taking part in the giant's flesh as well. Yeah. That is what he tried to do with Heron. He usually gives them an option, what kind of shit-ass option.
Wow, he was amassing an army.
Yes.
And initially I thought he was amassing an army for himself. But he's amassing an army for fucking Hades. That's crazy.
Wow, yeah. You really got to put some shit together. So he probably thought, and he probably was originally acting independently and of his own accord and volition. But through these things, like ingesting the giant's meat and using the weapon that he was using, it starts to influence his goals now. Mm-hmm. So, and then he later, as we see, becomes a puppet of Hera's. So she basically tells him, well, she lies to him, but tells him a mixture of the truth of what happened in his past and makes it look like, you know, she always had his back. Like she was his road dog, right? She's like, I sent that bear to breastfeed you when you were a kid, right? And she's like, I've been the one who's been protecting you. Lo and behold, it was not actually her. It was Zeus.
Yeah,
I think she actually tried to kill him, if I'm not mistaken. No, she didn't care. That wasn't Zeus's kid. Mm-hmm. But
but this was
she didn't care. That's what they showed. She did not care. She saw when he was about to like be beaten up and eaten and all stuff, and she turned away from her balcony.
That's all she does up there in Olympus. Just sit there and watch shit. Like, and then she mad. But this was all in the ploy of Hera to basically spark a war between the freaking gods. The demons were already running rampant in the mortal realm, fucking shit up, and she riled them up and then goes and revives the giants under the promise that she will return to them the seas that they once ruled, or just some little piece of the pie. They said, hey, you guys will be safe here. Right. I don't know how she was going to ensure it, but they believed her once that she presented them with their souls.
As long as it's not Olympus, y'all can have whatever y'all want.
Do what you want.
Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids and fuck my brother-in-law Poseidon. Like, fuck everything. So this leads to an all-out fucking war between the people who sided with Zeus and the people who sided with Hera and the Titans. Oh, no, sorry. I keep calling them Titans, but these are the Giants. The Giants are different than the Titans. But this was a crazy fucking war where everybody starts getting fucked up. And this is the time for Heron to basically level up and etch his name in the history of the Greek god mythos.
Like, I am a god.
Basically. That's what Zeus told him. He said, you know, we all have our stories. We all had the things that made us a god. This is your time for your story to be told and for you to show us what the fuck you got, you bastard.
So that wraps up the 3 things that you need to know about Blood of Zeus.
This name's giving us doozies.
The next thing that we're gonna roll on into is, what's our next segment?
What the fuck anime, but this time we're gonna call it What the Fuck Gods, because it's kind of really unique to this. It's not anime moments. It's like, how y'all letting this shit slide
in the show
in Olympus?
Itself, yes.
First thing, the normalization of the word bastard. Like, we understand why Hera's using it. Okay, copy, you got cheated on. But literally, like, Apollo and Hermes walk up and they're like, from one bastard to another, I just want to let you know I got you back. bastard. Like,
Us bastards gotta stick together.
like, there's all these quotes where they're referring to themselves as a bastard. Like, I was the first bastard, you know? So you guys are below me. But when Hera says these little bastards, she's talking to you.
The new bastards.
Like me, I did pretty good, you know? I'm almost at Hercules level. Like, so just a normalization. It's like, what the fuck is Zeus? How you let her call them bastards? They're not bastards. Those are your dead ass kids.
Is he about to check the wife that he cheated on, and you have your kids fully living in my house?
I will absolutely defend my fucking kids against my wife. Guess what? They're here. Are you staying? Are you not staying? You staying? Okay, deal with it.
I'm the queen, bitch. Send them away. There's a reason you didn't bring all
Are
of them
you
up here.
staying with me, or are you leaving, Hera? You want to be the queen of the gods or not?
We obviously are gonna agree to disagree here because
You're not gonna be disrespecting my kids.
it's not disrespect. That is what you are.
They're not.
Were you wed to their mother? Because I thought I was your wife.
First of all, Hera, you're my sister at the end of the day.
So you double disrespected me. You disrespected me as
He's
your
like,
wife.
I didn't want another baby like Ares, who's all up under you.
You disrespected me as your wife and as your family and as your kin. You disrespected me twice.
As your kid. I'll be damned. But that was like, what the fuck? Because her claws were so deep in them that she had themselves calling each other bastards. It's like, what the fuck, Hera?
It's like if anyone here ever watched Game of Thrones, it's when like when Ramsay made shit, I forget his actual real name, but he made him start calling him Reek. He took him as a slave and he wouldn't let him bathe, wouldn't let him shower. He was disgusting, he was filthy, and he tortured him so much mentally and physically, like he would only refer to himself as Reek.
You poor fucking thing.
And when somebody tried to call him by his name, he said no.
My name is Reed.
And that's that on that.
So another what the fuck moment from Blood of Zeus was I just want to go a little into all the free time that the gods had. So the way that they dealt with the humans and mortals and demigods of the world was like they literally treated them like they were a game. Like it was like a football game, or then they had like their what's that thing that people have, like where they had their teams?
Oh, like fantasy football?
Yes, they had it was like fantasy human. So they were not really supposed to mess with or influence the decisions of the humans and like who dies or things like that. And they had a truce, Zeus and Hera had a truce that they would not try to manipulate the destiny of these humans. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? Zeus obviously tries to do, he interferes. He did what he said he was not going to do. So Hera said, oh, word, all bets are off.
It's literally like tit for tat.
It's tit for tat with people's lives. With people's lives. And we know, like, we can't harp on it too much just because we know that from mythology, this is something that the gods were notorious for doing. But it's like...
every single one had fun playing with their own set of humans. Bankruptcy? Dead? Your wife's leaving you? You're having child
emotional distress. Like it was it's the casualness of it. Mm-hmm. So Hera says bet, and she basically sends, like, she gets Zeus's mistress killed. Like that she's been biting at the bit to get that woman killed, and she finally, once he cheated in the game, she said, okay, well, now I'm taking your queen. Checkmate, nigga. That's literally what she did. So
that's always how it goes too. It's like you think you're playing on one level, and then she's like, I'm jumping it. It's like, oh, let me just save her from calamity. And she's like, no, die, bitch.
No, whatever. He interfered before and technically she got a couple of life cheats because of him. So if anything, Hera did level up the playing field.
You're defending Hera to the...
I understand. I'm not saying that it was right.
to everybody.
Lie? What did she lie about? Was Zeus not shucking his responsibilities?
Everyone, what Hera was. Hera's hit Kiki and looking at all the bastards with her monocle. Like, she's like, I can't do nothing because I'm keeping track of all, like, this nigga and his kids. Like, she wasn't doing her duties either, Hera. Why isn't anyone getting married?
How do you know she wasn't doing her duties? I think she was doing her duties.
Electra should have been in a happy fucking marriage. If Hera was on that, taking care of her marriage and making sure she wasn't getting
She is the goddess of marriage, not the goddess of love. You need to pick that up with Aphrodite, okay?
Wow. So when you're unhappy in your marriage...
I'm sorry, I thought divorce wasn't a concept yet.
I'm unhappy in my marriage. Goddess of marriage, please.
No, sweetie. You
have
asked,
mercy before I fuck your husband.
You asked to be committed. You didn't say he had to love you too.
Oh, now she asked to be married to that king.
You need to submit the request to the right person, to the right God, to the right deity, okay?
Girl gone. Another one. We not gonna agree on this. Hera was not looking out, and that's what happens. You wasn't looking out, and so your man said, okay, cool, here goes an unhappy marriage that I could easily seep on into. And boom, what happens?
You know what? Be a man and justify that. You do that.
Such as like, oh, well, you know, well, I'm going to get into this a little later, but you know why I think it's okay why Zeus does what he does. I don't think cheating's fine, but I think it's okay what Zeus does in his instance. But lastly, the last what the fuck anime I have is just something, towards the end of the anime, not only did they let Heron into Olympus, but they let like Alexia and like 2 other regular mortals up in there. And I'm all like, y'all better get the fuck. Y'all's feet should singe from even stepping foot on this tile. Like,
that's true. And that's also like a common theme. It's just like mortals should not be able to exist in Olympus.
Like that's worthy of death, but they had them communing. They were communing with everybody. Like, oh, here's some armor. I'm like, hell no.
Master has given Dobby a shock.
The gods I know from Greek mythology would be like, you can get the fuck now.
Yes, like they fully knew that you were beneath them.
Or like somebody would have acted up, even if everyone else was accepting of it, like Ares or somebody else would have popped off and been like, no, and just killed the human right there.
Well, I mean, Ares probably had to pick his battles because he sided with his mother in the war.
Oh yeah, I don't think he was even up there at that point. He was down in the gutter with Hera. But that concludes What the Fuck Anime. Next up, we're gonna lock that bitch in. I'll go first for Blood of Zeus. Blood of Zeus, I feel like, left us with one giant cliffhanger. So I'm going to like zero in on that because that's easy. I feel like Hades is going to have a much greater impact on it. And I think this was simply him testing the defenses of Olympus for him to launch an all-out war with Tartarus. I think that he's been like breeding all these new demons, next level people. He actually has all the Titans, if you know Greek mythology, and if they're sticking to that, the Titans that were defeated are actually held in Tartarus. So I think this is all for Hades to get ready to launch his all-out attack and reclaim the throne of Olympus. Especially now, if Zeus actually is dead, that throne is up for grabs. Hera doesn't even have an arm, you know. Her arm got cut off, and she was killed. Mm-hmm. Okay, copy.
Well, so they
alluded to that she was killed too. But you know, this is him taking it because like they really weren't doing well at the end when Heron finally sucked the souls out of all the Titans. Like we saw that all the gods of Olympus were like in the grips of Titans, like about to be massacred, and I'm like, damn, y'all were really about to catch this L. So this is the perfect time for Hades to strike, and I think that's what season 2 is probably going to be surrounded around.
For Blood of Zeus, I don't really have a lock that bitch in, but I have something I hope damn sure don't happen. Damn. So I agree with Elijah that Hades is probably going to be the primary antagonist for season 2 if there is one. But obviously, you know, the bad guys don't win. Hades ain't going to be king of shit besides the underworld. So what I'm praying to God does not...
Besides what you already is.
Right. Stay your ass in the gutters, baby. But what I'm hoping doesn't happen is because obviously this story follows Heron. I hope they don't make this motherfucker the new king of the gods because for several reasons. Mm-hmm. 1, he's a demigod, ew. Mm-hmm. 2, he's not even like one of the stronger I was about to say like bastards. That would upset me. There's a lot of full bloods and bastards who are much better off than you. You have Ares, who would actually technically be the heir since he's Hera and
fuck Ares. Like, Athena is like the goddess. I forget if it's like intelligence or wisdom. I think she's a goddess of wisdom as well as like a goddess of war. Wisdom and like you know she's like a pretty badass goddess.
Well, she wasn't depicted, so if they have her in the story, but I'm just saying, like, there's just so many people on the rung above Heron, but this is his story, so I'm like, I hope this is not what this is alluding to, him eventually becoming the king of
If they do that, you might as well just make it your own and make it like a sibling war next, where all the bastards and the siblings are fighting with Heron to become the king, because that would be cute too. And it's been
But he shouldn't even be in the running, like, he ain't shit.
You ain't shit. You just like your daddy. You don't do shit, and you never gonna amount to shit.
He ain't shit, but...
DNA test me. Who's my father?
Yes, but you're not strong. And you're not even a full god. You don't even have the glow. Where's your glow?
Yeah, they all had that nice little tan. They literally just got spray tan.
So that's my anti-lock that bitch in. I don't want it to happen. But I think it might. So I guess it's also kind of whatever.
Understood.
So last but not least, we are going to roll into our Nani ratings.
Ooh.
Did you want to go first?
No.
Okay. Blood of Zeus. Blood of Zeus. You were not that good, in my opinion. I don't mind. I guess my opinion kind of is biased just because I do enjoy Greek mythology and I know a fair amount about it. So I wouldn't even say that it bothered me too much that they just actually no, it did bother me. Why are you creating a whole new character? Zeus has a slew of bastards. But you know what? I guess that's something that would have been a little bit more acceptable because then they would have more free reign with his story and how they made it go. Because for everyone else, then you would have that issue with the, okay, are you sticking to like what this character's actual story is and how much can you deviate if you do that? So that I could have let go, but I didn't really care too much for the story. The saving grace of this entire thing to me was Hera. I loved her wrath. I loved her antics. I loved how how human her reactions were. She was pissed. She was a jaded wife who wanted revenge on her cheating, philandering husband. Anyway. But all the other characters, Heron in particular, as the main character and as the series protagonist, he didn't do it for me. This man had the personality of flour.
Wow.
He was white and seasonless.
Finally, Jessica. Bland, boring Jessica. If she was a spice, she'd be flour.
Wow.
His brother was more entertaining. I mean, granted, he had the terrible backstory.
You wouldn't fry your chicken in him?
No, he didn't do it for me. And I didn't like the way he looked. His eyes were like translucent. Like they were
damn.
I didn't like the way his face looked. I didn't like him as a protagonist. And because he had so much screen time, hello, again, being the protagonist, I just could not get away from him.
True.
It was vacation when we went to Olympus and saw what everyone else was up to. So it wasn't a terrible watch, but I don't understand why it was on the top 10. Maybe because it was something new and people were bored. Yeah. But I'm gonna give Blood of Zeus a 4. That's it.
Boom. All right, yeah, 4's fair for Blood of Zeus. Blood of Zeus for me, I don't know, because I love Greek mythology, and I don't know, it just irks me so badly because I feel like whether it's anime, movies, TV shows, whatever it might be, when I go into anything and they try to recreate these stories, I never really like it. I never really like it. And it's crazy because I came up like reading most of this shit online on like, random websites that give you Greek mythology and like the storytellers. And I'm like, yo, this is amazing. This is great content. These stories are crazy. And it's basically one big happy fucking family. Not so happy. Like, one big family with all this shit going on. They're like the Kardashians.
Maybe if you had a business that you were passionate about, then you would know what it takes to run a business, but you don't.
And it's like, whenever it's depicted in any form, I do not like it. And Blood of Zeus, unfortunately, was no different. The animation was really, really cool. It was like Young Justice, Teen Titans, like that kind of cool animation. So that was really good. And that kind of tricked me and kept my attention on top of me seeing like Zeus, Hera, and all these things. And I'm like getting my little excitement from the Greek nerd inside me. And then once that faded and I kind of got into the show, I was like, okay, I'm not really feeling it. Like, I stopped the anime has like, how many episodes, Shay? 8? 8, yeah. It has 8 episodes and I watched 7 and I didn't watch the 8th episode for like a month. Who the fuck does that? Like, you should be on your toes, ready to go into that finale. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break for X amount of time, and I'll come back to you. So it really wasn't hitting for me. So with that being said, I'm going to leave them calmly at a 3. And I just wouldn't want to disrespect the Greek gods like that by putting them below this but naturally, like, look on Rotten Tomatoes, look up like Clash of the Titans and any other fucking thing. Like, they usually sit at these ratings anyway.
That one that they had with Poseidon's kid, that whole Percy,
Percy Jackson, like, get the fuck.
I hated it. I hated the whole Percy Jackson.
Read the literature and duplicate it. You don't gotta do all this extra shit. They all have enough bastards. You don't gotta make up a new one. You don't have to
of kids to choose from.
They have lesser known and more widely known. Like, there's literally categories. If you want to take your creative freedom, take a lesser known character that doesn't have a whole lot of backstory and a whole lot of stuff in the mythos, and do with it what you will. People will give you a little bit more leeway with that, and you're still introducing a new character. So that's why they're gonna sit it at 3, and it's unfortunate because I like Greek mythology so much, but it's fair. It's fair.
Also, I think I gave them a 4 just because season 2 looks like it might have some promise now that they're introducing Hades, because, like, honestly, he's who we come to see, right?
Exactly. Yo. When Hades shows his heel in the party.
Yeah, so
that's it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that wraps up Blood of Zeus on him. Next up, we are going to hop into God Eater.
All right, so in God Eater, there's monsters that drive humanity to the brink of extinction. An organization named Fenrir deploys teams armed with special weapons called God Arcs to destroy the creatures and take back the planet.
Yes, sir.
Does it sound familiar?
Oh, yeah. So as usual, we're going to be giving you the 3 things you need to know about this anime. First thing being the origami with an A. Don't confuse it with origami.
I wrote origami.
So the origami are the creatures that are wreaking havoc on the world at this moment. They basically came about, they're single cell organisms who accumulate around a central core. And they basically have maximum dexterity, enhanced dexterity. They mimic what our normal animals look like, which is pretty weird. Like, we saw one that looked kind of like a dog.
They have traits.
Yeah, we saw some that kind of look like horses. We saw some that kind of look like elephants, rhinos, mammoths. Like, I did. Like, the what is it called? The black...
Oh, okay.
Zetsu? Nah. Like them, like they gave me like those kind of animal
you're
types.
right. And then the more evolved they became, the less they resembled their original whatever they were
based off of. But the origami are the ones who are going around wreaking havoc, and they basically are born out of nothing. I believe that was like the best.
They're born out of a culmination of oracle cells. So,
wow, damn it, Shay!
Son of a bitch, he stole my line.
Jeez, Louise, I was about to say it. Yo, this is how you feel when you lay the toad and I kill it.
You should.
You just murked me.
Yes, you shouldn't have had your confused face on then.
I said, ooh. She said, they're made from this. We'll tell them. Let them know.
Well, you cut my train of thought, so you can pick back up.
So they are born from nothing. When I say nothing, it is to say that...
Well, you can't say nothing and then say something.
To the human eye.
Here, I'm back.
Right.
So it's very much like how matter works, where we know matter is always in the air, even if you can't see the particles. So
science. So it looks like nothing.
Science needs clacking in.
Science rules. Inertia is a property of matter.
Yes. So they are born without reason. They are beings of mana and earth.
I'm weak. Well, no, but...
No, they're literally born from the earth.
No, they're not.
I saw them coming out of the earth.
I know, but if you would have let me explain...
Go ahead, Keish.
What happens is, as they're going around killing these origami, they essentially burst into cells. That's how they degrade. It kind of looks like Digimon. If you've seen Digimon, like when they break down them back into like the digital coding or whatever, they break down into the cells, and the cells essentially disappear because they're naked to the human eye. And as I said earlier, they're single cell organisms that congregate around a central core. Basically, the single cells start to form again, and when they form back, they form a new being because it now has more cells lying around. Say you killed 3. Now there's 3 full-grown origami cells laying in the litter for us to be able to join back and form a brand new, more evolved giant origami that's even stronger than previously seen. So that's why this anime is literally an anime without hope.
Well, I mean, they can stop that from happening if they take the core, which is what they were trying to do. But I mean, I understand in watching the show that it's not as easy as, okay, I killed this one, let me just go pluck out the core. Usually there's about 7 others on your ass.
Yeah, they swarm. They like have animal characteristics.
Yes. And
they
you have
swarm.
to kill them in a particular way. You have to kill them with the core still intact, because if you kill them and the core is destroyed, what Elijah mentioned will happen, where they'll just spawn again. But if you manage to take the core, that should help mitigate the problem.
Yo, these are some hard motherfuckers to kill and
it's
keep
a lot
down.
of them. Yes, it's a lot of them. So again, you don't usually have the luxury of taking the core unless it's like a mission where it's like, okay, well, there's 3 of them in this area. You know, we can send out a team, kill them, and take the cores. But when you're being swarmed by them, you're swinging. That's all you're doing, is swinging.
Yeah, you're really you're just focusing on making it out alive.
And you may not even have time to harvest the core.
Exactly.
You don't have time to harvest the core.
So these origami are basically just essentially evolving at a crazy rapid rate, and our protagonists and our heroes are just trying to keep up with them and stay alive and hopefully create a better future for the world. Kill these motherfuckers.
Okay, so the next thing that you need to know about God Eater is what are the God Eaters and the God Arcs. So to combat the threat that the origami are, the God Eaters were created. So God Eaters are individuals who have almost like a certain DNA type, which allows them to do combat with these weapons known as God Arcs. So the God Arcs are basically weapons that are organic. So they're alive.
Yeah.
So the God Arc weapons are created by using the cores of one of the origami, and they do some really cool shit where they combine it with metal. So it's a living weapon that is personalized to one person. So only you can use your God Arc. Among the God Arc users, we have 2 types. So we have the old types and the new types.
You ain't fuck me, you fuck the old body.
Old types are individuals whose weapons are usually either a melee weapon or a long range weapon like a gun. And they can't change in between the two. New types, however, can change their weapons between melee weapons and long range weapons. So they're basically like the future of what the God Arc can be. So I don't think we mentioned it earlier, but the origami themselves are evolving, and we see that the weapons are evolving as well. So I don't know how much more their world can take.
Yeah, they about to be down for the fucking count. Something else cool about the God Eaters, it looks like they actually have these bracelets on their hands that synchronize with their God Arcs, and it looks like because the operation they went on is basically the introduction of origami cells into their bodies. That's what the test is for. The test is to see if they're compatible with those origami cells, and if they are, it's introduced into their bodies so that they'll be able to synchronize with their God Arcs. And what's cool about that is like in times of strife, and I don't know if all God Eaters can do this, but we saw our main character Lenka do it, where it seemed like he was like pumping out more cells or whatever. It's kind of like when Asta would jump and you'd see his calves swell up and he had veins all over him. It's like, something to that effect, where it's like, okay, you could like control how much control that thing had over you. It was later kind of explained that he was dying of a disease, but it was a really cool aspect of what could happen, because once you have more origami cells, once you let any more of a beast inside you, you become more powerful, you become more anything. But say it a damn again, the humans is at the bottom of the totem pole.
The way I saw it as well is that it's they're essentially introducing a foreign agent into your body. So we see that this can quickly become erosive if it is too much. So
not too much. His body was just too accepting of it. It's like it was a perfect match. It's like when you get a blood transfusion.
Too much. It sounds like cancer to me.
Not too much. It's just saying like, hey, the cells were super similar. It's like when you get a blood transfusion, you want to get the blood bag that's super similar, and then it just assimilates to it.
He was eroding and dying.
He was eroding?
That's what they
Is that what it looked like?
Yes, it looked like he was starting to rust.
It's like, yeah, I'm like, that's not erosion. He looked like he was becoming like a piece of rock.
They said his cells were
he looked like he was becoming like Diamond Head from Ben 10. That's what
he wasn't
like.
Nah, that shit looked nasty.
That shit, he looked like a rock. He looked pretty cool to me.
You thought it looked cool?
I thought it looked super cool.
I imagine that skin being raw, and then he has the bracelet is right there, so I'm like, it's.
See, because to me it looked more hard. Like it didn't look like it was like his raw skin. If it was his raw skin, now that's a little fucked up.
It looked like actual rust.
Yeah, it looked to me like those like clear rocks that people say like, you know, oh, this is for energy and this is for that. To me, it looked like he was turning into one of those, like a human energy rock. I don't know, but that's neither here nor there. That was just a cool aspect that I found, and like, you know, there was a couple other characters who had it, and I wonder if it could be controlled, because your life is limited once you have this disease. I wonder if it could be controlled to use like in a certain way so that you can perform better in fucking battles. I mean, these people are dying left and right.
A lot of them could have used a level up, because I think they had said Unit 1 was like the only unit that didn't have any casualties.
Yeah.
Well, as of the show starting anyway.
As of Lenka's appearance. Jeez. But the last thing you need to know about God Eater is the simultaneous storytelling that goes on. This is something that doesn't happen in a lot of animes like anymore, and I think that's super cool, where as we're going through the main storyline of what's happening in the present, they're simultaneously letting us know what happened that led up to this point. So we're going through the motions and we're seeing all these origami, and literally that begs the question. It's like, how did it get this bad? How did it get this far? How did you guys figure out that, you know, how to create Fenrir? Why is Fenrir the only city that's standing? Like, you know, it has all these questions, and they're literally simultaneously answering from us. So it turns out that these group of scientists that we're following in the present day are the ones who first identified that there's a single cell organism that's congregating around a core, and they were essentially ostracized and laughed at and not taken seriously by the government and the scientific community.
Think the U.S.
Yeah, literally.
Pre-coronavirus.
We're giving you the info and you're like, bullshit.
Yeah, literally.
And so, of course, later on, these organisms develop, and this is over the course of years, and they develop into these creatures. We saw a dog-like creature, and he's all like, yeah, it eats through all inorganic matter, and we don't have anything that are able to contain
Organic and inorganic.
Organic and inorganic. So if we're not able to contain it in anything, it's just going to run rampant, and we've seen other ones in other areas of the world, and they're getting bigger and they're getting larger. So they enacted them to figure out what is going on. And so we're basically watching the story of, 1, the world going to shit. 2, them developing these god arcs and the technology associated with it. 3, we're seeing the backstory for one of our characters, Soma, that we saw, that we're introduced to, and like the reason why he was an OG diseased one who was getting fucked. 4th, it saw us seeing the creation of Fenrir and them discovering why Fenrir was saved. Basically, they had like these beacons or something that are attached to the top of all those buildings, and that is what stopped the origami from popping up there, generating there, and being able to infiltrate that area.
This anime to me drew a lot of similarities with Attack on Titan. So in this situation in particular, we knew that the Titans didn't really the Titans were what the walls were created out of, right? So that was the deterrent, or what helped them stay safe. So just like that, how Fenrir has created these beacons that helps their little set of people stay safe.
Word. And that about wraps up the 3 things you need to know about God Eater. Next up, we are going to be doing a character you fuck with, which I'm kind of excited about today. So I'll kick things off. My character that I fuck with is definitely going to be Lindo Amamiya, who was the captain of the team that Lenka was on. They were the first company. I'm calling them companies like Fire Force. But they were the first team, and their sole mission was to collect the cores of the origami. They were using those cores to build a safe haven for the for all the remaining people on Earth. They were building a safe haven large enough to keep everyone on Earth in there, and they were making it out of the origami's cores because those are supposedly like what they cannot, eat through, because they could eat all inorganic and organic material, but I guess they can't eat through themselves. So that's cool. And he was just a really dope character. I need to look it up, but I think he has the same voice as like Yami from Black Clover, because I really enjoyed him and he really sounded similar to him. But he was just, as a captain would be, super supportive. He had a saying with his troops like, yo, rule number 1 is don't die. Rule number 2 is if you're in danger, run away. And rule number 3 is one day come back and murk that motherfucker so that you could bring a change about to the world. And I just thought everything about him was cool. He embodied what a leader should be. He knew his team's strengths, and he really set our protagonist up to be the best that he could be. There was a couple times where he set him out there with no wings and said fly. He was all like, yo, he was all like, hey, there's Aragami's gonna attack here. I want you to protect the village. I don't want anyone to die, and I don't want you to die.
He really gave him like vague ass
his god arc was broken.
Directions. His god arc was broken.
He said, so with my bare hands, you want me to bring down this guy and no casualties. Got it. Gotcha.
It was so funny because like he ended up injecting his god arc with whatever,
yeah, some shit,
like basically like oracle cells, right? And when Lindo came back, he looked at him like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted you to do.
I almost lost you today, didn't I? What?
So why did you fucking say so? You know how much time we wasted trying to...
Because you gotta believe in yourself, and he didn't want no bitches on his team. He said, yo, I have a team of heavy hitters. When we join the battlefield, everyone's supposed to feel safe. When shit's popping off, we the first ones sent out. I can't have you in here like, oh my god, ours broken, when I can clearly see it's not. Like, I feel like he looked at it and said, really, nigga? Like, your shit's broken? It's not broken.
It was broken. It was fully broken.
They said we detected fate lines. It just needed a breather. It just needed a little breather.
No.
But Lindo literally just, I don't know, he set the team up really well. And whenever he was in there, it was cool. And, you know, he even was the same way when 10 years earlier when he met Lenka as a kid. And he was just like, you know, what do you want to do? He's just a very real dude. And I really enjoy Lindo's character. So that's why he's the character I'm fucking with right now.
Okay, so for my character that I fuck with, I'm going to choose Dr. Paylor Sakaki. So he was a part of the original 3 scientists that we see who were doing the investigations into the anomalies that the oracle cells were creating. So it was Dr. Sakaki, Aisha, who is Soma's mother, and the captain whose name escapes me.
Right.
So the reason why I fuck with Dr. Sakaki is because he's one of those characters that peeps when the... Okay, so you know when a story has an antagonist, but they're not the overt antagonist, like they're just the character that's doing some slime shit behind the scenes? Dr. Sakaki is the character that peeps that and watches how that character is moving and usually plans accordingly. So at the end of the show, we see that the commander in charge of everything, he has this plan that's this asshole ass plan to create he lied. He did so much. I'm stumbling over myself. So he basically lied. He told the people that he was gonna create this like paradise essentially that the Aragami couldn't get to and everyone was gonna be safe. But what he's actually building, which is like, I'm like, how do people not know what they're actually fucking building? But neither here nor there. He's actually building a spaceship to take some of humanity into space and wait out the apocalypse, which is not a bad idea, but he fully intends to leave behind majority of the world's population. He knows he can only bring 1,000 people with him. So he's not building another spaceship. He's not putting like a bunker in place. He's just like, well, I'm taking 1,000 people up and to hell with everybody else. So Dr. Sakaki is his friend, who, again, they worked together they were the original team who discovered the oracle cells. So he becomes hip to what his friend is doing, and he's not that slime where he's like trying to murk his friend, but he basically was given like, he was like, you know, you would come with me, right? Like is what the guy told him, like, you know, you would come with me, but he's like, you know what, I'm not even like, that plan is an asshole ass plan. So he is trying to now he's on a clock where he's trying to prevent what his friend is doing, which is essentially bring about the apocalypse. So his proactiveness in continuing to find a solution, even though he essentially knows that, you know, he would have a ticket on the ark. You know, he's safe no matter what, but he's still looking out for everybody else. I do admire that in his character, because he could, you know, go with his friend's idea and just wait it out. Like, he really doesn't have to take on the work that he's taking on. So I find that kind of noble as a character who works in the, like, he's not on the front lines, but to be doing what he is doing on the back end, I do admire that. So that's why I wanted to give a shout out to Dr. Sakaki. So next we're gonna roll into our lock that bitch in. So I'm gonna lock in that Lenka might unleash a third type. So as we discussed earlier, the first types were ones who couldn't transform their weapons. The second types are ones who can transform their weapons between melee and ranged weapons. And we saw at the end of God Eater that Lenka, because of his condition, they like really beefed up his God arc, where like it was every time he used it, like he used it a couple of times and then a piece would fall away and it would turn into a different kind of weapon. Yeah. So I feel like they might keep building on that, just because he does have this, it's not a unique condition, someone else has it, but to the magnitude that he has it and is still working and choosing to work, I think that they will have to keep...
Or his willingness to die.
I mean, he doesn't have a family, but I think because of the uniqueness of his situation, they will have to keep renovating his God arc to fit his new molecular structure, DNA structure. So I think that he's going to introduce us to a third type of God arc, because like we saw, he was doing a lot of crazy shit with his, and like because of the modifications that they had to make with it. So that's what I think is going to happen. He might birth a third generation, or I think they might even have to inject his body itself with the origami cells to stay compatible. So I think he's going to get injected, and then he's going to have a new type created.
Ew. What I'm going to go ahead and lock in would be that there is a human figure behind the origami. And what I mean by that is there's somebody who actively created them. And
you think they're man-made?
Yeah, I think they're man-made. Like, they identified those cells, and for them to pop back now as like all these different creatures, and even when they showed those flashbacks, like one of them was already like bigger than a whale, like in the ocean. I'm like, you know, it looks like something that was being developed and tested, and over the while it became what it is now. So I think there is a human that is the root of all of this evil. I'm not sure who that might be, or if we've even been introduced to that character as of yet, but it's giving me vibes. Like, these origami have like human personalities so far. Like, you know, not every origami displays like human traits, but the giant one who was the most evolved and the main antagonist that we saw, he was smirking, he had a beard, he understood what the humans were trying to do, their tactics, and he knew when he was like playing them. And it was very interesting to see. So I think that there's a human behind this, and they are basically carrying out his will. Maybe he wants to be the only person on Earth. Maybe he wants to rebuild the world in his image. You don't know. But this is the route that person might be taking to get it.
Fucked up worlds are usually born from scientists.
There's only one person. Like Attack on Titan, you thought it was the Beast Titan, and boom, ooh, there's a human inside there. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, makes sense, jackasses. But last but not least, we are going to give this bitch our Nani rating. For God Eater, I am going to give God Eater... See, it's very, very weird, because when I first started watching this show, I immediately almost cut it off and was like, no, I don't want to watch this. But as I watched literally the second episode and on, I was like, oh, okay, it's like a very gradual incline leading up to a pretty cool story. This had a lot of gore, a lot of action, pretty decent writing and storylines. And I kind of liked everything that was going on as it went further. You know, there was a lot of shit that was like, maybe unnecessary. I didn't really care much about the people who didn't make it into Fenrir. Like, they didn't have anything to do with me or the storyline. Of course, somebody's gonna die. There's fucking origami out here eating everybody. We can't protect everyone. Like, that's a fact of life. You cannot protect everybody. As long as you're not doing it like saving just the rich, useless people, and you're making it, okay, if you are of use to us, if you can become a God arc, yes, we will protect you and your family. That DNA pool we will save, because you guys are the ones who are gonna bring forth the next generation. We don't need you people who can't produce God arcs reproducing and coming and think you're gonna be safe here. We don't need those babies. So I
sound like an ass.
That's just what it is. I hate when people try to put emotions into like the apocalypse. It's like, it's the fucking apocalypse. What do you mean? Like,
yeah, it's the fucking apocalypse.
Be fair. All the rich people gotta go in there. That shit don't mean nothing no more. None of these rules, societal rules and anything mean nothing anymore. You better pick them wisely. Pick them fucking wisely. And I just like that. I felt like that's realistic. I felt like
that.
I like that, and I felt like, hope to God that I tested positive, or one of my siblings tested positive to be a God arc. But I think it makes the most sense. And that's when you'd find out you were adopted. Yo, and I'd be like, deuces, chuck the deuce up. If I pass the NATO, like
you would leave your mother?
Huh? What I'm gonna do?
You would leave your mother?
What I'm gonna do? What did Lenka do? Left that little girl right where she stood. What can you do? Lindo, my character I fuck with, he said, yo, there's nothing you can do about it. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it. Either you die or you're safe. And I think that's realistic because you can't have everybody in there. That's how you run out of food rations. And there's not enough place. You got poverty. We don't want poverty.
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
It was poverty.
We don't want poverty in there.
It was already poverty. I'm sorry. I thought that one of the kids' moms lived in a shanty with a,
I said we don't want poverty in Fenrir.
Like, yeah, there was poverty in there.
Oh, no. Did you see the opposite side of the gate? We need to gauge poverty for God Eater's poverty, okay? But I say all this to say that God Eater skyrocketed on its high rating for me from where it initially started. And I'm going to put them at a 6. I really enjoyed God Eater. It's because of how it started that they didn't get higher than this, but they ended 1,000 times better than where they started. So shout outs to them.
So for me, I do agree with what Elijah said, where God Eater definitely it ended a lot better than it started, and I can pinpoint the episodes that I was really like invested in. So episodes 10 to 13, so those last 4 episodes were the episodes that, like, the first episodes weren't terrible, but 10 to 14 is when they really 10 to 13 was when they really stepped their shit the fuck up. So God Eater, like a lot of anime, I see the similarities between it and other things. Like, one was the animation. It reminded me very much of Final Fantasy, which, it's a hit or miss for certain people. The plot was almost exactly like Godzilla, God of Worlds or Monsters or something, the most recent Godzilla movie that came out. So that was all. I kept drawing parallels between it and watching that, and then also with Attack on Titan, the protagonists were identical in their pig-headedness, where they're just like, I'm gonna kill off all of the origami, or I'm gonna kill off all of the Titans by myself. And it's like, okay, you need to relax. Like, I understand.
And then proceeds to get their ass whooped.
It's like, I understand confidence. I appreciate confidence, but also have some realism in that. Like, in episode 1, he wants to shoot off and try to help people, and it's like, you haven't had training yet. She's telling you to stay back so you don't die, so that you can one day in the future become an asset and save someone else. What does he do? Cut a hole in the fucking wall and runs out.
And they invested a lot of money in him.
And they invest a lot of money and training into you, right? So, I mean, that's neither here nor there. But for me, even though I really enjoyed those last 4 episodes, I don't think that I should have to wait 8 episodes for an anime to become riveting. So I'm gonna leave them at a 5, at the halfway mark, because I feel like that's where they left me. If they come out with the season 2, I wouldn't run to watch it, but I would probably peek my head in, see what happens. But I don't think that it should have been that delayed gratification in watching the anime. So I'm gonna leave God Eater at a 5.
Yikes. Yeah, but we're around the same area typically anyways. That makes sense. They could have did better. All right, guys, that concludes this episode of the Nani Network. But before we go, we're going to give you guys this week's question for the gram. This week, we're going to be asking you, if you had to leave your family to enter Fenrir, would you? We all know these apocalyptic animes put you in crazy predicaments. So sound off your answers under this episode's question for the gram pick. That wraps up today's episode of the 90 Network, and thank you guys for listening to us. And let's hear your ratings. We know we're not the only ones out there with an opinion, so sound off under this episode's Live Now pick on our Instagram at Official90 Network. And as always, rate, comment, and subscribe anywhere you can. Talk to you guys later.
Later.